Wednesday, 8 August 2022. In this edition of This and That and What the Fuck More, we're going to cover a few interesting stories. But I'm having a hard time to stay up to date with the news, and you may expect another few Skidmarks very quickly following this one in the next 24 hours. Okay, let's go. People who quit the CCP exceeds 400 million, signaling a collapse of a regime. According to statistics from the Global Service Center for Quitting the Chinese Communist Party, the number of people was 400 million. Now, we just need to get a little bit of perspective here. If the CCP loses 400 million members in their party, that's a hell of a lot of people. That is more people than what lives in the US. So, but I don't know what's going on there. I've heard many stories, and I've heard many rumors and many suggestions and many speculations. I think that the Communist Party as such has got a problem. The main issue facing them now is the collapse of the property market. That property bubble has burst, and it seems like it is going to create a massive financial issue in China. And then there's some more on it. 400 million Chinese people cut ties with the Chinese Communist Party to free themselves from its control. Well, let's keep an eye on this one. Things may be changing. And then we get this one. I'll never forget that the vast majority wanted all the unjabbed pinned down and injected with medicine with death as a side effect or banned from society. I just can't let that go. And that is something to keep in mind and keep thinking about. There was a lot of these stories at a stage. And something more. And this is from a local South African political party. And this guy posted this morning, reminding them of their history. Never forget how the DA supported the ANC Parliament and constitutional lockdowns, laws, masks, jabs. They actually destroyed the Western Cape economy, ask you to report your friends, and they support jab mandates. Now, if you're in South Africa, you'll understand those hashtags there. And then there is a graphic of some of the documentation that the DA has circulated. How do we report people we know are breaking the rules of the lockdown? Call your local SAPS office or the NICD hotline, and then they give you a hotline. If someone purposefully or recklessly transmits, is that a crime? And I'm going to show you the full shot. And you must read for yourself, because for reasons that we are all very aware of, I cannot really dare to be too specific. And there it is. And then there's this one from Gonzalo Lira. It will come out that all the players in American professional league sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, knew beforehand that they were taking salt water, not the snake poison. And not one of them warned the public. So much for your heroes. Think about that. And then we get this. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas has fallen ill with the pestilence. And now we're in the Donbass. And this is what the Ukraine soldiers has been doing for the past 8 years and still doing. And today they're doing it with Western supplied weapons. The APU fired at a school and an entertainment center. Due to the hits, more than 1,200 residents of the city left without light, the mayor said. And this is how they roll. That's how the Ukrainian Nazis roll. And then here is an interesting one. Units of the Russian armed forces in the Kherson region successfully used high-precision guided artillery ammunition, Krasnopol, which is as accurate as the American HIMARS, at a cost of $35,000 against $1 million. And you want to know why the West is struggling? Because Russia retained their heavy industry. To fight a ground war, you need heavy, dirty industry. And look at the price difference there per shot. $35,000 against $1 million. How can that be sustainable? Just take that 35 and divide it into that million and see for yourself how many rounds does Russia produce for this price of one in America. This is something that Westerners should take serious note of, especially the Europeans that are so comfortable that NATO can protect them. And then we have this from the Dutch. The Dutch state is planning on forcing 11,200 farmers to shut down to meet climate goals. Retweet if you are more worried about climate communism than climate change. This is ugly, and the people really need to wake up. This political elite has got an ugly plan for all of us. Imagine that number of farmers they want to drive off their land. This is not something that we should take lightly. And now we come to energy. The German energy prices soaring, supply spiraling down. Next year prices for German power smashed the records last week, skyrocketing to 4 times the 5-year average as the continent scrambles to ward off a winter energy crisis. High temperatures have caused both French and Swiss nuclear plants to reduce supply or shut down completely, driving prices to €414 per megawatt hour, as German coal giant Uniper, recipient of a 15 billion government bailout last month, also warns of supply issues. And the fact of the matter is, they brought this on themselves. Despite the impending crisis, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has categorically ruled out the possibility of approving the shelved Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, warning that the nation faces difficult months ahead. How is it possible that the German people just take this? This Green Deal is done. It's over. It has been proven to be not capable of providing the energy that the continent needs. And people need to understand that, but they don't want to listen. They are sitting quietly in their houses and watch on their TVs as this political race keeps on planning their demise. Ukraine has stopped the transit of Russian oil to Hungary, the Czech Republic and Slovakia via the Druzhba oil pipeline, Transneft reported. The reason is Western sanctions, because of which the Russian company was unable to make the payment. Let's see what the anti-Russian sanctions have led to this time. EU countries were left without oil, Ukraine was left without money from transit, Russia will simply sells its oil to other countries. This madness is going to turn out extremely bad for Europe. Mediterranean buyers return to the market for Russian crude. And I'm not going to read all of that, but is it a surprise? I don't think. And then we have this. UK plans for blackouts in January in emergency energy plan. Reasonable worst case scenario envisages 4-day power shortfall. Industry, households could face planned power outages. Bloomberg reports this. How is it possible that the citizens of Europe is taking this nonsense? And this guy posts this. If only there was a way to get our hands on more gas that requires no shipping and could stabilize the price. We could always start fracking and insist that it is sold exclusively to the UK market. Is that too far-fetched? I am stunned about it. Ukraine halts Russian oil supply to the EU. Ukraine's state oil pipeline operator Transnafta has stopped pumping Russian crude to the EU through the southern branch of the Druzhba pipeline. Transit supplies have been halted to Hungary, Czech Republic and Slovakia, though transit through the Belarus in the direction of Poland and Germany continues. And the games keeps on getting more interesting, and Ukraine is taking its chances wherever it can to score a few points. Then back to the EU. Germany will lose $265 billion due to the conflict in Ukraine. This is reported by Reuters with reference to a study by a German Institute for Employment Research. Yeah, they're not due to the conflict in Ukraine, due to the sanctions that they implemented. The Russian ambassador in Belgrade said that a Russian military base would be set up in Serbia. He stressed that this decision is a sovereign affair of the Republic of Serbia, and I have spoken about this earlier. Russian trains going to the Kaliningrad region are accompanied by Lithuanian helicopters. The reason is Vilnius fears for the Suwalki corridor, writes Wall Street Journal. Lithuanian helicopters accompany the train to make sure that they do not stop and nothing will be unloaded or loaded from them, writes Michaels. The Suwalki corridor is a section in the northeast of Poland which is located between Belarus and Kaliningrad. According to NATO, Russia and Belarus can quickly occupy it, cutting off 3 alliance countries from Poland: Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. Oh, these imaginary landing trains are a novelty of the Russian defense industry, the guy adds at the bottom. Those people keep on poking the bear. Now they are making up enemies for themselves, fictitious enemies. Europe demands Latvia to investigate the facts of ill treatment of refugees by border guards. Riga is accused of using excessive force against migrants and keeping them in inhumane conditions. A couple more charges: refugees were not allowed to ask for asylum and were forced to sign an agreement on voluntary return. And I don't blame them. We all know that this refugee issue is going to turn out very badly for Europe. Moldova is trying to blackmail Russia with gas transit. If Gazprom stops gas supplies to Moldova, then Transnistria will be left without gas. He believes that there is no difference between Tiraspol and Chisinau, and residents of the 2 banks of the Dniester should pay for gas equally. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out, but it looks to me like the Russians will very soon solve that issue once they've taken Odessa, and then they will have a land bridge to Transnistria. And back to the green stuff. Low lithium levels threatens electric car revolution. The price of the key metal used in electric car batteries has rocketed to a record $70,000 per ton. As leading producer Albemarle says, supply will be overwhelmed for 7 to 8 years, casting doubt on the technology's utility. The world needs 60 more lithium mines by 2030 to meet the government's green energy plans and decarbonization targets, but it could take up to 19 years for a new mine to start production. What's worse, lithium companies typically do not meet production promises due to technical delays and mishaps, according to Albemarle Lithium Chief Eric Morris. This is a scam as far as I'm concerned. And we know, if you look at that image, those blue ponds there, they are deadly poisonous. And some more on the Green Deal. Energy crisis. France scraps green laws to flood rivers with hot nuclear plant water. Hot water from the nuclear plants can now be pumped into rivers and lakes after the President Macron lifted restrictions to avoid a complete shutdown, putting wildlife and plants at risk. The strict laws to protect local flora and fauna have been lifted for 1 month as unseasonably warm weather restricts reactors from maintaining supply and an energy crisis limits consumer power consumption. You see, another one where it backfires. And all of these laws that they brought in on this Green Deal, very few of them were thought out. Most were plucked out of their sleeves on a whim and an impulse, driven by that screaming little group of people in front of Parliament waving their green flags. And now we get back to the global revolution. Russia launches Iranian satellite. The remote sensing sat was launched in Kazakhstan early on Tuesday, with Russia's space agency Roscosmos releasing footage. Tehran has rejected claims that the satellite would help boost Moscow's intelligence in Ukraine. Well, doesn't matter who claims what, the fact is the Russians have sent that satellite into orbit. And back to Lithuania. Lithuania volunteering to be the next Ukraine. The Grand Duchy of Lithuania will destroy Mongol Moscow if China's Mongols attack Taiwan, a ruling party lawmaker in the Baltic state wrote in a tweet. This could actually have been a warafa. Now NATO. Reinforcements have arrived in Latvia. US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin arrived in Riga to discuss military assistance to Ukraine and the future of NATO. He plans to meet with the country's leadership and declare the readiness of the United States to maintain a presence in the region. Probably he will try to convince Riga that the destruction of the Baltic states in case of a war will benefit her. Yeah, I like this. Always this guy makes his little comments at the bottom. And then this is that moment. The real what a fuck. And this one, you have to sit down solidly in your chair. Pelosi. China is a strong democracy, one of the freest societies in the world. And what a fuck is that? I think she has hit the juice bottle strongly once she got back into the States. How can she say something like that? The freest society in the world. And on that scary note, please like, subscribe, share, and I'm going for a walk now.